$851 to fund just 1 day of renovation, to take a look into the past and see who lived here. This doesn't answer the question, however, why has the house sat empty for years? Well, the sad truth is that there is planet Earth, thought to be at least 100 years old, and for the most part conquered by mankind. There is, however, one small piece that no sane man dares venture to alone. Rural France. In a bid to lose my sanity and money in one foul swoop, I acquired the cheapest house that's now being renovated here in rural France. As I signed on the dotted line, I had no idea what my new to me house had in store. Under the 200-year-old dirt floor hid a rotten framework, barely holding the house together, taking us from minor repairs to a major rebuild. Floors, walls, everything was falling apart. Only a shell of this old house remained. It's frightening to think this is my first renovation, but with the help of good friends who are there for me during my time of need, progress is being made. And in this video we'll explore what the future holds for the cheapest house in rural France and uncover the truth behind its hidden past. There are 5 parts to this video: the intro, the renovation plans for the house this year, how are we going to make the renovation happen, and then we'll delve into the house's past, who lived here before and why has it sat abandoned for decades. Lastly, a little conclusion to wrap things up, of course. You've just watched the intro, now for the renovation plans. This house has come a long way in the 2 years I've owned it. In summary, it had new floors including most of the joists, new walls, and a total rewiring has been done by the best Sparky in rural France. This year I would love to get the floors finished, the windows restored, the light fixtures installed, and all of the plumbing done through the whole house. But that's not all. I'll need to buy and install a kitchen and 2 ensuite bathrooms. As for heating, I'm going with electric radiators in every room. Now, as you can imagine, all of this comes at a significant cost. We're talking tens of thousands of euros. How are we going to make this happen on a shoestring budget? Let's get into it. Last year I spent around 10 grand travelling back and forth from my home to the 15 grand house that's being renovated in rural France. That's just a price I had to pay for buying a house in a country that doesn't have an easy path to residency for young, healthy, tax-paying entrepreneurs, which is fine by me. I can still visit for relatively long periods at a time, and I'm still allowed to own property in rural France. Some people ask, where is the 15 grand house exactly in rural France? Well, it's no secret. You could find it by looking at road signs that appear in videos from time to time, but I don't disclose that information in general. This year though, I aim to halve the cost of travelling by visiting rural France less frequently, but staying for longer periods at a time, and book up tradesmen ahead of time in order to ensure the plumbing work gets done in a timely manner. Now, in theory, this is the perfect plan, but locking down a tradesman in rural France whom you have no previous dealings with can be a challenge in and of itself. Now, that travel saving is significant, but still not enough to get us to where we want to be in the renovation. Luckily, we have a few brands on board that show support by sponsoring the odd video, like Incogni, who sponsored this video. Data brokers quietly collect and sell your personal info. That could be your name, phone number, home address, even details about your children. At best, it's creepy. At worst, it's downright malicious. Well, Incogni fixes that. They automatically contact data brokers on your behalf and force them to delete your personal data. Don't take my word for it. Here's a look at my own Incogni account. That's right, I love them so much, I'm also a paying customer. Last time I showed you this a few months ago, we were at like 50 or 60 removal requests. Skip to the present day and that number has almost doubled to 98. That's 98 times Incogni has found my personal data in the hands of various entities which I've never even heard of for the most part, and told them to delete my data. But these dastardly companies love to eventually relist your data after the initial request. Well, Incogni stays on the case by monitoring data brokers who've previously had your personal info and send them recurring data removal requests. There's also a custom removals feature where you can simply copy and paste any page that features your private info and Incogni will get it removed for you. And the cherry on top is that you can get 60% off an annual plan by using code LifeOfRyan at checkout, or simply by clicking the link in the description, incogni.com/lifeofryan. Thank you so much Incogni for sponsoring this video, and more importantly, keeping my personal data safe. Now you may be wondering, how much does it cost to renovate a house in rural France? Well, based on my experience, a qualified tradesman will charge around €250 per day. Add to that at least another €250 per day in materials, and you're quickly spending €500 per day. That's the stage I'm up to in my renovation because I need a plumber. Now, earning €500 in a day is challenging, but we need to account for income tax as well. So let's say that's around 30%. So I need to make €715. That's $851 to fund just 1 day of renovation. Of course, I can't approach a plumber and say, just do 2 days and then stop, because I need to make more money. So I'm saving until I can fund the next chunk of the renovation project. And that's something that draws valid criticism. The renovation's taking too long. But here's a gentle reminder. Things cost money, and I'm taking on zero debt for this renovation project. The house is around 150 to 200 years old, and its past is for the most part a mystery that even Scoob and the gang can't solve. That being said, I have found a few nuggets of info that allow us to take a look into the past and see who lived here at one point in time. This postcard is from 1936, exactly 90 years ago, and in the corner we can see a woman gazing lovingly into the camera, standing in the doorway of the 15 grand house that's being renovated here in rural France. Now, what's fascinating about this picture is that this demoiselle had no idea that 90 years later she would have her spotlight here on YouTube for the world to see. Don't worry, demoiselle, for your house is in good hands. Moving on, here's another postcard that shows us the 15 grand house that's being renovated in rural France predates the square opposite, featuring the war memorial, which is now a car park. This doesn't answer the question, however, why has the house sat empty for years? Well, the sad truth is that there is a tendency among French families to buy new homes in new neighbourhoods that pop up on the outer fringe of French villages. These houses offer all the mod cons and more outdoor space than a traditional French townhouse. More importantly, it simply isn't financially viable to buy a house like mine and pay to have it renovated by tradesmen. This is due to high costs of materials caused by years of inflation and unaffordable labour costs because of crippling income taxes here in rural France. To elaborate, a self-employed tradesman that charges €250 per day will only see €160 after tax, and that's before his business expenses like tools, van, fuel, insurance, etc. Now you may be thinking, well Ryan, the business expenses are a tax write-off that bring down the cost of tax. Ha! As the French would say, non, is not possible. If you're under the self-employed structure in France, you are not allowed to write off anything as a business expense. In other words, you are taxed on your income, not on your profit. Insane, I know. A substantial portion of rural workers are in jobs where their wage is close to the minimum or below the national average. They simply can't afford a tradesman. Plus, the value of the property at the end of the renovation may not be as much as what you spent to renovate it. It is what it is. I've told you my intentions with an open heart, and yes, it may be true that things rarely go to plan, perhaps due to bad luck, more likely due to my blasé attitude. The fact remains, if I didn't live life by my own rules, the 15 grand house that's being renovated in rural bloody France wouldn't even be on Jarl's radar. I would have erred on the side of caution and bought a bicycle instead, with stabilisers. So, do I have any regrets? Nay. Well, actually, yay. I need to double down on my laissez-faire way of life and embrace the joie de vivre, both for my own benefit and to mildly annoy the most entitled of viewers. For that is what brings me joy. Don't forget, Incogni's offering 60% off an annual plan. Link in the description. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye for now.